federal judge in Massachusetts is questioning the Department of Homeland Security about whether they have deported any migrants to South Sudan. In April, that judge barred any deportations of migrants from the U.S. to countries other than their own unless they're given sufficient time to contest their deportations and notice in their native language. But lawyers for at least one migrant from Vietnam says he was on his way to South Sudan in Africa. They argued that their Vietnamese client was given less than 24 hours notice of his removal and had no ability to contest it, again, in his native language. We're joined now by Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes to break this down. Khalif, several things pop up as concerning, one, the violations of giving time to contest this, but also the fact that there are treaties in place about sending migrants to places that are in the middle of war and have humanitarian violations.
Yeah, United Nations is saying that when in 2018 Sudanese folks stopped fighting, now it's kicking back up. And what does the United States decide to do? Yeah, we'll send folks there even though they are in the middle of a potential war starting back up. This is probably not the right way to do it, but it also brings up a couple of other things. We ought to remember that the Trump administration is trying to figure out the defenses on our Constitution, and one of them is figuring out, do we have to follow judges' orders? That basically, as you talked about in the intro, the judge in April said that, look, you have to give them an opportunity to have notice, that they have to have an opportunity to be heard, and it has to be in their native language. I mean, if you're talking to a person that doesn't speak English, giving them documents that are not in English, they're in English and they don't speak or read that language, then that's not really an opportunity for them to explain to you that, hey, if I go back there, I could die. Or if you're sending me 7,500 kilometers, almost 5,000 miles away from where I'm from, that's the distance between Vietnam and Sudan. How am I going to get home? How am I going to actually get to the place that I've ever been if I've never even touched down in Sudan? So those are the types of things that you have to talk about first. Are they following the judge's orders, and are we doing things that are constitutionally or ethically right? And that's a number of questions that the Trump administration is forcing us to talk about that I didn't think that would be on anyone's bingo card coming into 2025.
And even the facts of this case are still in question, right? As to the attorneys for the government saying, no, he was on his way back to his home country, and the locations of these planes are classified.
A lot of the things right now that the Trump administration is doing is saying, look, we don't have to give you the information. And then when the judge is forcing them to give the information, then they can call the question of, is it national security? Then we don't have to turn it over. And so that is also a part of the strategy that, look, we'll follow your orders until we don't. And then if you call us into question for failing to follow your orders and ask for documentation, specifically flight plans or planes or who manifest for who was actually on the flight, then we can't give it to you because it's national security. And then once the person gets to the other country, that's the last portion of this, that now we have no control over this person coming back. So because we are a country of rules and we have these things in place to ensure that it's not the wild, wild west, it's extremely troubling to hear an administration, the executive branch, telling a judge that we basically don't have to follow what you're saying and we'll dare you to do anything, because this is the ultimate game of chicken playing out right in front of us.
What type of precedent could this set if ultimately the administration is allowed to send migrants back to their home countries, but not their home countries, other places like Sudan, Kilmar Borrego Garcia? Because once they go over, as you mentioned, they may not have a chance to have any correspondence and fight their case because you may lose track of them in Sudan. What type of precedent could that set if this is allowed to go forward?
I think it's a dangerous precedent, and this is something that's already been contemplated. This judge said that exact same thing. You send them there, and now this court no longer has jurisdiction over this person. That's why the judge in his original order said stop the deportations, have them stay there, just like the past one when the judge told them do not to have the planes take off, but the planes that took off after his order was in place. So now you have a judge scrambling and saying, well, hey, did you disobey my order? And I've been in court where a judge wants to figure out, well, why you failed to follow their orders. Was it ambiguous? Did you not understand? And those are the typical questions that a judge would ask prior to them saying, okay, now I'm going to hold you in contempt. And now you have to come and have a show cause. And that's typically what's happening in this situation. The judge is trying to figure out what's going on and why you guys are failing to follow a pretty clear order, which was no one should be going to a country of their non-origin unless they've had an opportunity to be heard. This person, 24 hours to be heard in a non-language that he spoke, and then shipped on the plane instantly.
Our Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes breaking that down for us. Complicated stuff.
Absolutely.